Imagine facing prejudice and instead of backing down, using that moment to inspire change. That's exactly what happened to Snoop Dogg. In an unexpected turn of events, the iconic rapper and cultural figure found himself in a situation that could have left anyone stunned. A blatant act of racism directed at him quickly went viral, but instead of reacting with anger or letting the negativity consume him, Snoop took a different approach, one that would leave a lasting impact on everyone involved. What happened next wasn't just about standing up for himself. It became a powerful act of courage and a reminder that even in the face of ignorance, we can rise above it with grace and strength. So how did Snoop Dogg transform this moment into a story of inspiration and hope? Stick around as we dive into this incredible journey of resilience and positivity. The day started like any other for Snoop Dogg. He was out in public, doing what he does best, connecting with people and spreading good vibes. But then, out of nowhere, an encounter changed the mood completely. A stranger approached him with words that cut deep, exposing the ugly side of prejudice. Most people might have reacted impulsively, but Snoop's calm demeanor in the face of such hostility was striking. This wasn't just a random act of ignorance, it carried the weight of something deeper, a reminder that even someone as loved and respected as Snoop isn't immune to the realities of discrimination. But Snoop wasn't about to let this moment define him or bring him down. Instead, he started thinking about how to respond in a way that would leave a lasting impression, not just on the person involved, but on anyone watching. What he did next would turn heads and touch hearts. Snoop Dogg took a deep breath, his mind racing. The words hurled at him weren't just offensive, they carried a sense of challenge, as if daring him to stoop to the same level. But Snoop wasn't the kind of person to give in to negativity. Instead, he stood there, letting the moment sink in, while bystanders watched nervously, unsure of what might happen next. Among the crowd, some whispered in disbelief, while others seemed ready to intervene. Yet Snoop remained calm, his composure becoming the center of attention. It wasn't just about him anymore. This moment was unfolding as a test of character, a chance to show that hate could be met with something stronger. Meanwhile, the person who had started it all seemed to falter, perhaps realizing they'd underestimated their target. Still, the tension lingered. Everyone wondered, what would Snoop do to flip the script in such a powerful way? The air was heavy with silence as all eyes remained fixed on Snoop Dogg. He tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable, making it impossible to guess his next move. The tension in the crowd grew as people whispered among themselves, some pulling out phones to capture the moment. Yet, Snoop stood firm, almost as if he were waiting for the right time to act. The person responsible for the hateful remarks looked uneasy now, their confidence faltering in the face of Snoop's unwavering calm. It wasn't the reaction they'd expected. Slowly, Snoop began to speak, not with anger or aggression, but with a quiet strength that commanded attention. His words weren't meant to lash out, but to shift the energy in the room entirely. The crowd leaned in closer, hanging on every word. What was he about to say? Whatever it was, everyone knew it would change the narrative in an unforgettable way. As Snoop began to speak, his voice carried a calm but undeniable authority. He addressed the person directly, not with anger, but with questions that made everyone stop and think. "Why?" he asked simply, his words cutting through the tension like a knife. "Why bring hate when we all have the power to lift each other up?" The crowd was silent, captivated by his composure and the unexpected shift in tone. But just as the atmosphere began to change, something surprising happened. Another voice from the crowd spoke up, someone who had been watching quietly but could no longer stay silent. This person, an older woman, stepped forward and shared her own story of facing prejudice and how she had once stood where Snoop was now. Her words added a deeply personal layer to the moment, reminding everyone of the ripple effects of hate and the strength it takes to stand against it. Now, with two voices carrying the weight of experience, the moment was no longer just about confrontation. It became a powerful call to action, leaving the audience even more eager to see how Snoop would bring it all together. The crowd held its breath as the older woman finished her story, her words hanging in the air like a challenge to everyone present. Snoop looked at her, nodding in quiet appreciation before turning his attention back to the person who had started it all. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. What would Snoop do next? Then, in a move no one expected, he stepped closer to the person and extended his hand. "Let's break this cycle right here," he said, his voice steady and filled with purpose. The tension shattered as gasps rippled through the crowd. The individual hesitated, clearly caught off guard, but eventually took Snoop's hand. The energy in the space shifted entirely, transforming from hostility to something almost hopeful. But just as the crowd began to applaud, Snoop added one more twist. "This isn't about me or you," he said, looking around. "It's about what we do next. Let's use this moment to start conversations that actually bring us together." His words left everyone thinking long after the scene ended, a reminder of the power of courage and connection in the face of hate. As the crowd began to disperse, there was a sense that something meaningful had just unfolded, something bigger than a single moment. Snoop Dogg stayed a little longer, taking time to thank the older woman for her courage and wisdom. Her story, combined with his calm strength, had turned an ugly encounter into a lesson that everyone could take with them. The person who had started it all seemed quieter, perhaps realizing the impact of their actions. They walked away without saying much. But the handshake and Snoop's words lingered in the air like an unspoken promise of change. In the days that followed, the moment went viral, but not for reasons people might expect. It wasn't the conflict that captured attention, it was the way it was resolved. Snoop's message of rising above hate and choosing unity over division became an inspiration, proving that even in the hardest moments, kindness can win.